Yo, it's ODB from OLP. This is issue 142 of Mini Truckin Magazine, October 2003. Don't forget, OLP, we are your Mini Truckin headquarters. So be sure to follow us via however you consume podcasts. So with this issue, we have William Stacks, his 94 Toyota pickup with graphics. Of course, you see that. This is Wes Allison's 44th credited Mini Truckin Magazine cover. The model, I double-checked this, is Melony LaRose. This is one of 3 cover trucks, and the first of those 3 to have Foose wheels, believe it or not. And if you take a look at the top, we see the insert photo is from issue 1, well, the cover truck of issue 139 dragging the Silver Star Customs Blazer. So there you go. You get the beautiful Melony LaRose. And you can see the theme this year with models on the covers. That's an important thing, obviously, for the demographic, to help drive the sales and whatnot. This year is shaping up to be an insane year, 2003, that is, as it relates to just the cover trucks in general. There's 2 awesome trucks coming up even after this, Chad Lucas, and then the NC Toyota with graphics. So again, let's not get ahead of ourselves, but this year is totally insane. You can see here again the little green banner I had mentioned recently on one of the flip-throughs that was all white across the top. It does say cruise party shows here, so a little item added there, so to speak, and then you can see the massive coverage that they're promoting, including Showfest, which would have been in May. They've got their website listed here as well. So without further ado, let's jump into this issue. There's definitely a lot to talk about. There's a lot of awesome trucks in this one. So we can see the table of contents is pulled together pretty nicely. We've seen some changes here with kind of the art direction, but this to me is super simple. You've got, of course, at the top, that bikini dough. You've got page 50, of course, there, kind of another photo of it. We see the Mazda, the S10, the Mitsubishi Microcab, and then Chris Gaddie's Isuzu. So a good mix of mini trucks in this one. And then, of course, you've got the features and whatnot just listed clearly down the right side. Lance, his Scrubline, which I think I didn't catch if this happened last time, you can see they streamlined it a little bit. It just says Scrubline instead of the Scrubline. So that was one minor update there. Get out of town. He kind of talks about, Mini Truckin Magazine covering shows across the country, but also it became a big thing for people. And again, people were traveling in the 90s, but you get to like 2003 and you have this West Coast cruise from the West Coast to Greenville. A lot of promotion there in terms of, hey, get out of town, go to a different state, check out shows in different areas. Here you have Silver Star Customs. They, of course, get a shout out, and that ties in a little bit to the recent cover. Obviously, Silver Star Customs. We can see their Fast 411. And GM will begin to receive more of its parts from China and other low-cost countries. It's so funny seeing people, when they talk about, unfortunately, like Shane with his Frontier, that's still, doing so well on the scene now. It's USA themed, and we posted it on July 4th, and, there's, of course, always an a-hole that comments, oh, they would do all that to a Japanese truck, and it's like, you realize these trucks are built in America, and your so-called Chevy trucks, how many parts are actually from other countries. It's just crazy how people think. But anyways, enough of that. This is one Sic Mazda, okay? And this is a truck that I'm so glad I'm going back through these, because I hadn't looked at this issue in literally probably 20 years. This is Travis Cox's 87 Mazda B2200. He was from South Carolina, and this was Outcast Customs. We actually recently saw the rear of this one. I mentioned Chris Anders' truck and kind of the nod to it, at least, with this one. But pretty cool. You could see what they did there with the background to kind of almost look like a Pueblo Southwest type deal. This is maybe the first time we're seeing Mike Alexander's name here, so we know that he will be introduced soon as the new cast member, if you will, the new employee. And it's Sic Mazic here. Kind of, again, some minor changes. You know, look at the owner's box, you know, clear little deal setup. This thing is super sick. You can see that it is a unibody, which is insane. It's a nice color. But, oh, by the way, you have the nitrogen tank in the back. And at first glance, it was funny when I was flipping through this, I thought that it had a roll down back window because I don't know what it was. I think it was the glare on the back window. So when I first looked at this, it almost looked like it was rolled halfway down. And then until I looked and was like, oh yeah, it's a normal window. But it does have what appears to be a nitrogen bottle. I ran a bigger bottle. That's a smaller one, but you can see the regulator on it and whatnot. But just a super sick truck. You could see there what I was talking about with Paul Davis / Chris Anders, you know, that mod that they did with the pop-up taillights. You know, crazy dash. Really a cool truck. If you like what we're doing here, leave a comment, even if it's just an emoji, just anything to comment there. Showfest 03, so this would have been the 4th year in a row that I went. Showfest, you just had to be there, I think is what a lot of people tell you. So this is cool to look back at it. You have the S10 Sonoma, which I would always say this was on the 75th, and I think people would correct me. I think it was the 50th issue of Street Trucks. So it was kind of like an anniversary milestone issue. And if I remember, it was like SEMA, maybe SEMA 03, around this time probably. I think it was an issue that they gave out because that was the one year I went to SEMA, the first year I had went. And I remember, I think, getting an extra copy at SEMA, maybe from the Street Trucks booth. Rest in peace, Ernie Macias. Again, you may recall, and I sometimes forget if it was 02 and 03 or 03 and 04. There were a couple years that the West Coast cruised out. This was one of those years, and I think this was the first one, if I remember correctly. But, you know, I took some photos of Ernie's truck that year. The Pebble Pushers, Isuzu Pup. Always loved this thing. I think it had a rodeo dash, and it had the Amigo fenders on the front. You can see the back is flared as well. Not sure if it's still around. I recall it being a Pebble Pushers truck, and you can barely see the logo there on the back. Here's Eric Cryan's Mazda. I want to say this is my buddy Tom Bennett right here. But Eric was parked down that far right end. I still remember where guys parked at the shows. This truck, actually, a couple years ago, he finally parted with it. And it's on to a new owner that's basically, I think, you know, doing the normal stuff, cleaning the gas lines, getting it ready. Super sick Mazda. A lot of people didn't really ever see it because it only went to a few shows from my recollection. The Pebble Pushers S10. This awesome Isuzu that we'll see in show coverage. You can see there the Tacoma with, it looks like the Michigan plate. Suicide doors. Here's the Silver Star Blazer. It was given away. I can't remember if it was this year or another year, but it was given away at Showfest, and then this thing was pretty sick. Down here, you've got a Toyo tire with an Expedition. But because this show was so insane, that's not all you're going to get. So I remember, was it Wicked Customs? It was Josh from... I think it was Wicked Customs, wasn't it? Up in Tennessee. I think they maybe did this one. This thing was insane. I remember taking photos of it. This was the Unibagger, maybe? Or maybe it wasn't. I think it was because it was the Acro truck. Here you have, this thing was sick. We'll see more of this in this issue, which I think it was shot here. Just an insanely clean truck, which is bounced around. It's one of those really nice trucks that has definitely bounced around a few owners. I think Brandt actually owned it for a minute. Here is Jimmy Graham's Forerunner, Nissan Hardbody with the Frontier front end. If anybody knows where this truck is at, I think it was last seen up in Ohio. Jimmy sold it after building it. It ran on, March 03 Street Trucks, I think. And it's never to be seen again. So he would love to get it back. This is the S10 I talked about that was on the anniversary issue of Street Trucks, I think issue 50, with the chrome setup, which was just insane to have it kind of bolt in the way it did. This was a really cool, I think from Oklahoma, that hard body topless, which is sick. Here's the Ranger that was an NC at the time, still around. I think it has a topper now. If someone can correct me if I'm wrong, I think this is the same one, and then another Sic Mazda. But I mean, you could almost do a whole issue of Showfest at these shows, and there's going to be more on Showfest in this issue. Throwing sparks, so attention grabbing 101, kind of little crazy tech article there. Cool cars, I think. Now that I think about it, Cool Cars, I believe they ran Sean Carlson, rest in peace. I believe they ran the 4Runner in one of their ads as well. That's from my homie, Jason Redden. We're going to keep on going since I slowed down there a little bit. This was Don Bloomquist, 97 S10. And again, I really have been a big fan of 94 to like 97-ish before they kind of changed the dashes and whatnot. Although you can see the newer style front end on this thing. My buddy Paul used to describe the Chevys pretty well, and I know it applies to other OEMs, but they were kind of like Mr. Potato Head, especially the full-size trucks. You know, you could bolt on a different front end, bolt on parts. I know my Bourbon, that's the way it was, and it just is awesome. It's kind of part of mini trucking, right? Changing parts out, picking your favorite stuff from here. That's what it's all about. Doing the damn thing. So here is G Nights, and Lance decided to run with this, and he basically spun it with a little intro that, hey, this was like, you know, Thursday, people start rolling in. We see Brubaker's truck here. He was recently a guest on the podcast. He talked about dragging the heck out of that truck. There's a famous photo of it, of course, with police behind him as well. We see NC Frank, who I know for years he was known as NC Frank, so that's kind of etched on my mind. I think that's Ronnie from Flat Out right there. He's been on the podcast as well. But Brubaker's truck, here's the Silver Star Blazer. And you can see a few others over here. Here's Eric's coming in on a trailer that we saw, the Mazda, and then Chris Gaddie's Isuzu. I knew Chris a long time, and of course we were together up that year. That actually might be his Tahoe and his trailer right there. Never noticed that before. We'll see more of it in this issue. We went to Showfest many years in a row. We started in 2000, and it just was like when May rolled around, I knew it was time for Showfest, and it was time for Love Bugs. That's one thing that I always remember driving to that damn show. Here is Mass Destruction, a weapon of mass destruction, and this is William Stacks, 94, as I said, standard cab. He was from Mississippi, and I think, I may have not mentioned it, but in the table of contents, I think they said that this truck had been built for 5 years. But it was a way for Mini Truckin to run an awesome truck on the cover, but also mix it up, East Coast, West Coast, that type of thing, since he was from Mississippi. He was in Subculture, which I need to update that on my database because for some reason I had it listed as NA for the club, so I see that now. So again, kind of make real-time updates, and it's, you know, I do go back and I check things, especially as I'm going through these. So we'll update that Subculture. You can see a little bit for those that want to see the details there, but you have Melony LaRose as the hot model. Graphics, I think, are the standout on this truck, and of course you've got a nice grill on it. The rear setup is pretty sick too, and the interior. So this truck definitely had it all, which is going to help place it on the cover. You can see the sward. Super clean engine bay. And check out that rear end. Giving it a little bit of camber there. Just awesome. Super sick truck. Toyota. You guys remember that one? Is it still around? State-to-state cruise, destination Las Vegas. So obviously cruises. A lot of people have the Hot Rod Power Tour and things like that. This would be a way to get people to cruise into maybe a particular show, as well as bring content to the publication and, you know, allow them to meet up to shoot features. Construction Zone, I want to say for the longest time it was known as the Construction Zone, but Might be a streamline item that I recently maybe didn't catch, but it's now simply Construction Zone, which is clean. This was John Scott's 97 Toyota Tacoma Extra Cab. And you can see here one of the standout features, unibody. You may say, hey, why unibody? It's just a huge mod. If you think about it, it's certainly easier to take a bed off instead of the bed and cab at the same time, but it's just a mod. And, you know, Mini Truckin's built on modifications in many ways. The Isuzu None Cleaner, this was shot by Lance. This was at the time Joseph Benne, B-E-N-N-E, and it was an 88 Mitsubishi Mighty Max Micro Cab. Say that 10 times fast. St. Louis, Missouri. He may have been the one that built it. This thing, of course, got a lot of praise. It would end up on the cover of Tailgate, and it's just a super sick truck. I don't know who has it now. I know it was in Severed for a minute, but it's certainly a truck that you don't see a ton of these, right? The micro cabs. You know, there are some out there, don't get me wrong. But, you know, for the dash, as clean as it is in this thing, you know, the bed all shaved up like that, green color, super clean engine bay. You know, the interior was, at this point, you know, was pretty minimalist. You know, not a center console, not a crazy stereo. Just really had it all, you know. Just an awesome truck. I'd love to own that one. Here you can see SMC valves. You got some new ads, which I think is key for the publications. I would hate when the ads would stay the same for years and years. Here's Truckin and Sport Truck presents the Vegas Nationals 2003. We can see Charles Armstrong here. And then the female, I do not know her name, but I do, if I recall correctly, she will appear on one of the covers. But we would see her at different events. And check that out, Trends. I wonder if Charles still has that. It's basically a Trends custom award for this event, but it was actually put in the shrink wrap, which is kind of crazy. Which is cool, you know. I mean, not crazy, but, you know, it's cool that DeBerti and Trends would have said, sure, we'll make it, and then boom, they shrink wrap it. All the reporters, Tacoma, and then, of course, you know, Time Machine there. Charles Armstrong's painted it and owned it and eventually sold it. Here's the Tacoma we'll see more of very soon. This looks like one of the BAD license plates that they were producing at the time. Another photo of Time Machine, and then the Severed at the time S10. Got a chance to see that again at Mini Nats this year. That thing's bounced around some as well. It's an awesome truck. Flakenstein. It's funny, some of these truck names that just pop in my head. This was One Low Ride, so Chris Gaddie's 93 Isuzu Pup. I knew Chris a long time, and I have a couple behind-the-scene photos that I took on a camera, on film. That dates my age a little bit, when Lance was shooting this. So it's pretty cool. It was shot for Tailgate as well. It was actually shot for, like, all the mags. And I think it was shot for Tailgate at Blood Drag. But basically, Mike Alexander did the write-up. Lance shot it, as I mentioned. And the cool thing about it was he had went back and did some stuff to the engine bay, made it super clean, chromed some things. And super clean truck. I think he's done more to it now with right-hand drive and whatnot. And he's brought it out some. But super clean truck. Again, shot at Showfest, where a lot of trucks were shot. And it was always a good time. You can see the famous Cuts R Us Toyota here. That is up in Canada now. Lucky. Super clean Mazda. Appreciate you guys sticking with me to the end. I know some of these get a little bit longer, but I have been, if you haven't been able to tell, I have been trying to streamline them a little bit. Got a tad sidetracked on this one, talking about cool stuff. We're to MT Graffiti. There's the truck I saw at Indy Truck Bash. There's Jimmy's, I think, from Showfest with that rear setup that he did on it, which was kind of crazy from the 4Runner. The NC Isuzu. And just many good times. Killing it. So, what do you guys think? Again, this is Mini Truckin Magazine 142. October 2003. We got 2 more left from this year. Remember, I do add these into a playlist. So if you want to go back and you want to stream them all or let them run, if you need to go back and find something, you can easily do that. And also, all of the features are detailed in the description, including a link to purchase merchandise if you would like via our website, ourlifestylepodcast.com. Thank you so much for the support. Stay on the rise. Melony LaRose, though. We got you. Peace.